like and subscribe, please.
So touch on that, because I know in New Zealand, from what I've seen and, you know, talking to Bailey and that, there's a lot of races to be done. So does that mean that the competition's not a stick, or tracks are too different, or what's the differences?
There's a lot of racing over here to be done, like as I suppose there is over there too. You just need to travel, but it's just trying to, I don't know, trying to get the time against competitive races, if you know what I mean. Like we go over there to Gillman. You're lucky if you get a couple of thirds, probably a last. Maybe if you're lucky, you might get a second or a first. Like that's cool. Like I'd prefer to be chasing something and learning than if you're leading at a club day. Like it's expensive to run at a club day. Like when I was going to Aussie, like you get a bit of travel money, you get a bit of prize money, whatever. You don't really get that a hell of a lot here. Like something that, I don't know, makes it pretty hard when you're like racing in the South Island and you don't really get anything for it. Like, yeah, at one point when we're doing those East Coast roundups, by the time you get a bit of travel money and a bit of prize money for your place, it almost was covering my flights. It's almost cheaper that it was racing out of Australia than it is to race here.
Jeff's done a great thing, and so Slady. They've come up with a really cool thing. I've done 2 Tamworth trips last year. One was a rain out, but good Chinese food. But the next one was the New South Wales titles. What a great meeting, and how they run it, how they structure it. It's just good for Speedway sidecars.
Yeah, those 2 blokes are bloody legends, really. Like from the times that I spent with both of them, like what they were doing for the sport, trying to do for the sport, for Tamworth Club in general, like all of that stuff they were doing, especially with Newcastle, like that. Newcastle's like one of those memories that I always have, is going down that grandstand straight, and it was just, I don't know, it's like an atmosphere that was unreal. It was, as a rider's perspective, it was just great. Like, yeah, you can't really thank those guys enough for what they were doing.
We'll go back to some of the other internet questions now. Christopher Chatfield comes up with, do you think the Honda motor itself, like that platform, is probably the best motor to be running?
I don't know. There's a lot of motors out there. Obviously, the people are running now, and obviously the favoured one seems to be the crossplane that everyone's going to, the Yamaha crossplane. But I suppose it's each to their own. I've had a crossplane, but it was an earlier one. Apparently, the newer ones are different, so I can't judge on that. But I don't know. I like the Honda power, from going from the FZR to the crossplane, from the crossplane to the Honda. I don't think I could have put 3 different engines, but yeah, but no, it was good. I like the Honda power, the way it. And then I've had a ride on Spud's bike. He gave me a ride on his new bike, and I enjoyed that. Like, so there is developments over the years, I suppose. You can change chassis as well, or develop the chassis. So,
how important do you think picking your gate, like the rut, and doing the gardening and that is?
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah, well, races are one off the start line, really. You see Trelaw, and once you get out the gate, and if you're quick enough, there's not a shit show you're going to catch them. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Gardening does help. Half of it almost helps just the mind, I suppose. I like Patrick that swings for me, and Bailey, you can pretty much judge for it too. Like, if they get off, they can stamp one out. And when I'm sitting behind, it might look all right from where they're standing, but when I'm coming up to the line, half the time, I've done it a few times to Bailey, like he'd stamp a rut out and make it all nice and pretty, but I'd end up going beside it. But it's just one of those things, I suppose. Yeah, just got to try them, and yeah, gives you a bit of an idea on what the ground's doing, where the surface is and how it's sitting.
We've got one here from, I hope I'm saying this right, Jordan Braddock. Probably not by the look of your face. What makes the connection between rider and passenger go so well on track?
it's almost like a bond thing. You've kind of got to, it's like a relationship really, isn't it? Yeah, it's just one of those things. Pat and I have got a pretty good one now. Bailey and I had a real good one when we were over, like when I was racing over there. Some of the stupid shit we used to do after and away from the track. But it's kind of like that now with Pat. Like you just end up with a pretty good bond, and it's just, you kind of know what someone's doing before they're doing it as well. Like I can half read what Pat's now doing before we even are doing it, if you know what I mean. And he's probably reading me now. I've noticed, like, it's obviously our second season together now, and the way we're kind of starting to gel, it's starting to happen. So, yeah, it's good. We borrowed a bike in the weekend. We raced in Invercargill, and it didn't even feel that uncomfortable. Like, we both clicked to it pretty quick, and, yeah.
So I have here Erwin Tree has to say, this will be good. So he says, has Jamie learned his lesson from in a final of the New Zealand title yet?
No. It doesn't seem to.
And he's also put in that thing there, he's put, what's your most memorable moment on a solo and what's your most memorable moment on a sidecar?
Memorable moment? Oh, me and Erwin done a lot of travelling around when I was on solos. A pretty great friend. So I think it was the New Zealand Grand Prix. I think I won. And I stopped at the pit gate and picked him up after we'd done a hell of a big season. And I picked him up and I let him, because he never really raced at that point, and he held the checkered flag as we rode round. That was pretty big, really. Well, I don't know. He's still got the photo on his lounge wall of him holding the checkered flag with me riding the bike. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And what about the sidecar one so far?
I don't know. Pretty memorable. I suppose getting the invitation to ride in the world title over in Adelaide, that was pretty cool. Pretty good to line up against like the big names that you've watched on TV and stuff like that. Never really thought I was going to race them, so that's pretty cool.
Move back to some more of these questions. So the last one is a mate of mine, Hamish Golding, says, what is your favourite track and why?
I'd have to say Gillman was my favourite track, and it was when Dave Parker was doing it. And the way he prepped it was just unreal. I'd never seen anything like that. Like, we go into signing and the track was still against the fence, really, and then he was laying it pretty much as we're going through briefing. I don't know how many people I've told about that in New Zealand. Like, it was unreal how cool that track was at those first couple of world titles. And then the last one, I don't know, just completely changed. But then it started riding a bit more at Tamworth. And yeah, I don't know. Tamworth was pretty cool, especially in, like, those are the two favourite Aussie tracks. That and Newcastle. Newcastle was cool because of the grandstands and the spectacle that was kind of going on. It was, yeah, the atmosphere made it there, eh?
So I want to know, as a kid in New Zealand, I knew that obviously everyone knows who Ivan Major was, but who were some of the big deals racing when you were a kid that you sort of looked up to?
Sidecars, I suppose it was my dad. I always followed everything he done. He was pretty sharp. So that was pretty cool. Like, growing up watching him, I always wanted to swing with him. So I got to do that only a few years ago, really. So that was pretty good. And, I suppose there was some South Africans. When I started solos, there was a South African family, the Slowgroves. They were like youngish, well, obviously older than us, but they were on 500s and that. And the youngest son taught me quite a lot of how to get into the solo side of it. And he used to come down to trainings and spend time with me like I want to do with other kids. He was only like 15 or 16 at the time, but he was pretty sharp. And that's where the number 14 come from. It was his race number at the time when I was just starting out. So I kind of took that and carried on.
What do you do for a job, and what's been your career in New Zealand?
I'm a motorcycle mechanic. by trade. So yeah, and I'm a service manager at a motorcycle shop in Pyro here. So yeah, and then 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, I suppose now, I changed trades and went heavy diesel. Was doing agricultural, like doing tractors and all that sort of stuff. So that was pretty good just for a change. But now I've gone back to bikes in the last, 12 months, 13 months. Been back running the bike shop. So it's been pretty good. Same company, but yeah, different department, obviously. And then, so we've got quite a bit of a range of things we sell and that sort of stuff. So it's a pretty big shop.
What are some of the ideas that you see that are happening in New Zealand that we could sort of adopt over here?
Television, live streaming. It's so hard. Like in New Zealand, if we're like watching a meeting like from over there, the only way we can find it is on Facebook, and it's only if there's someone posting results. That's it. It's hard to follow. Like even if you lived in Australia, you can't even follow it. So it'd be good if you could just pay a stream. Like most of our tracks now over here, you can live stream all of them. So Palmerston North now, you can just go online, buy the stream. They live stream the whole meeting. Go to Western Springs, you can live stream the whole meeting. But all the car tracks are all pretty much live stream now. You just got to get the link. It's like $20 or $30 for a night. You watch the whole race meeting. So that's unreal. Like, I don't know. It'd boost the sport, I reckon, if you could actually live stream it, because more people would do it. Like, I can't fly to Tamworth just to watch a meeting, but I can live stream it, so I'd do it. But yeah, you can't just, like those decent meetings, like the New South Wales meetings and stuff like that, like title meetings and all that sort of carry on. You'd pay for that live stream. Like we live streamed the Aussie title because that was available.
I suppose as we're sort of coming to an end, I'm shocking for a chat, so thankfully I'm pulling it back a little bit at the moment. But all I could say to you, I would suggest, would be if you can rattle off some of the people that have been really, really helpful in your career. You're not going to get everyone, but some of them is fine.
Andrew Buchanan, Philippa, like Burns, like what they've done for me since I've been racing sidecars, like with the Aussie thing, and they kind of took me under their wing when they took us over there. They helped us out traveling the bike round and all that sort of stuff. Like that's never going to be forgotten what they've done. Like it's been unreal, stuff like that. And he's taken my bike around New Zealand for me to help me out as well. Like obviously he owns a business and it's a bit easier. He's going that direction. So he's got the gear to chuck another bike in his trailer to help me out to get us to meetings. So it's been pretty cool. Obviously Mike Zahn built the frame. Mike from Elite CNC. He's been a sponsor since I jumped on a sidecar. He jumped on board and he's helped me out. And he's the one that's helped us get to Aussie. He's pretty much backed us 100%. He's the one that owns the Stinger. I don't even own the New Zealand bike. He bought that so I could race it. Like when we were racing in Australia, he bought it just so I could keep doing meetings. Mum and Dad, obviously, they're, pretty helpful. Like they've always been behind us 100% as well. Bought bits and pieces, and the old man always fixes. He's an engineer. He fixes all the shit that I keep breaking. He's constantly making new bits and pieces, and whatever I seem to wreck, he seems to fix. So it's been pretty good. Carl and Nessa, my auntie and uncle, they've been supportive and helping us out and stuff like that, and getting behind us, which has been pretty cool as well. Like, I don't know, the list goes on really. You got the Ogilvy family that have helped with everything they've done in Australia, and when they come over to New Zealand, they've been pretty helpful. And I suppose you got like obviously the passengers that I've had over the years. Like started off with a guy called Snapper, and he was a dude, and then obviously got a bit more into it, and that's when old Jacob Cooper, which is Ropes from Palmerston North, he jumped on. He was pretty helpful as well, and then Bailey after him, and now obviously Patrick Larson. He's like we're gelling pretty good, so pretty happy there, and hopefully he is too. So we can stay together for a while. Because
we all just want it to be good for everyone, that you just find yourself tripping over to help anyone you can help, Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And obviously when we met Mark Mitchell, I didn't even know that you could go that far and beyond for someone else as that guy does. Like he was night and day, he was the biggest
thing ever in Australia that we got to meet, really. Like, he helped me and Bailey out that much. He was picking us up from the airports. He was giving us cars. He was picking the bikes up. And
I think what you were doing at the time and what a lot of people do just can't be done without those sort of people. And, you know, you even talk to the guys that race professional solos over in England and Europe and that, and there's always those people in every single town that will, you know, if you're late to a plane, they'll get your bike somewhere. You know, it's just cool of the Speedway family.
yeah, it's definitely a big family, I suppose, the old Speedway scene, isn't it? Like, where it goes and the links people will go for someone they don't even know. Like, I didn't know Mark from a bar of soap really when I met him. Now I class him as one of my greatest friends. Like, it was unreal what he went above and beyond for myself and my partner Sam. Like, they're picking us up from airports. Like, they gave us a house. Like, they had a flat to stay at. Like, everything you could think of, they did everything for us. It was cool. And at the end of the day, he was a competitor against us. Like,
Well, that just speaks to what we were just saying about the Speedway family. But I stitch everyone up at all the time. But I've got to know, what's your most embarrassing moment to do with a race meeting, whether it be on a solo, a sidecar? What's something that's really embarrassing that's happened that people might not know about?
oh, the funniest one that I like to tell people about is we done the world title at Gillman and finished the meeting and all that, and I was getting changed, but I hadn't noticed that, obviously not used to how much sweat was going on. And I always run the same pair of boxes throughout whenever I race. So they were getting probably a bit tired. And now with all this extra sweat that I wasn't used to, I took my Kevlars off and I thought it was rather breezy. And I was bending over in front of probably the whole crowd and the whole back end was gone out of them. I thought that was pretty gold. Yeah.
I love it. It's just cool to hear these little tiny things just to make it, you know, not so serious. But I'm really happy with doing this interview with you tonight. I can't thank you enough for coming on and hopefully leading the way for the rest of the Kiwis to start coming on.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully you got a few more that you can have a yarn with. It'll be good. Yeah. It's always good for both sides too. Like, I've been watching quite a few of the interviews that you've been doing over there. So for those blokes, especially some of the other top ones that you've talked to, but yeah, they're always good to have a listen.
All I can say is put the word out to the Kiwis. Tell them to beat my phone down. I'm happy to interview anyone you think of. But all I got to say once again is thank you so much, and that'll be it for us tonight, mate.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you very much for having me on.
Like and subscribe, please.